There are things that we experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in a corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us, share your story, share your evidence, because this isn't just your story, this is our story. This is Ghostbox Radio.
And this is Ghostbox Radio on AM 950, where every week we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, or just the unusual. My name is Greg Bakken, and thank you very much for joining me today. First of all, I'd like to wish everybody a happy 2021. That includes you, Sasha. Happy 2021.
Happy 2021, Greg. Thank you.
It feels like it's been months since I've seen you, but it's just been mere weeks.
Can you believe it? I'm honored.
Well, likewise.
Greg missed me.
I did very much. I mean, I texted him. He did not return my text, but we won't talk about that right now. Before we get into it, I just wanted to kind of just say to everybody, once again, the purpose of the show that I do every week, with everything going on in the world, whether it's politics or just unrest or anything else, that this show is always meant to be a respite from all of that. This is a place that we come to where we talk about the paranormal. This is a place we come to where I like to talk about my favorite thing in the world, which is the paranormal. And this is for people who are, believe it, live it, or skeptics, or whoever you are, that this is a safe place, and that, let's just talk about what we love the most in the paranormal. And, as I often tell people, this is not a hobby for me. This is a lifestyle. This is a way of life for me. Everything I do has the thought of, what's going on around me as in terms of spirit or anything else. And I absolutely love it. And that's why I do this show every week. And this is why I bring on people and guests who, quite honestly, they just blow me away in terms of what they know and what they've learned and what they can pass along to all of us. And that's why I'm really, really happy today to bring on our guest, which today is Alexandra Holzer. Alexandra has appeared in numerous film documentaries exploring the paranormal, and on TV as a paranormal expert and as a guest or guest host of hundreds of national talk radio shows. She also created a paranormal segment for Reading, Pennsylvania morning show WY102 on WRFM, a commercial FM station. As a result of her ongoing contributions to the field of the paranormal, Holzer has been featured in Broadly Vice magazine, Rolling Stone, Rue Morgue, 14 Times, MTV News Online, the Associated Press, People.com, and Teen Vogue. She also profiled on Hamptons.com. Holzer is the author of Lady Ambrosia, The Secret Past Revealed, and Growing Up Haunted, a ghostly memoir. Holzer's other written works include contributions to AOL's Huffington Post, Canada's UFO Digest, and popular holistic green zine OM Times. She carries with her a fresh, trademark journalistic approach that doesn't hold back or shy away from the truth. Holzer successfully partnered with the 2013 Pulp Arc Award-winning Best Author Bobby Nash to create the book Alexandra Holzer's Ghost Gal, The Wild Hunt, with foreword by Ghostbuster Ernie Hudson. She and her husband run Hunt with Holzer, a research and investigative organization carrying the Holzer method. We're going to talk about that. They live in New York and have 6 children and a bunch of rescue fur babies. Alexandra, welcome to Ghostbox Radio.
Thank you, Greg. It's great to be on.
Thank you very much. And before we get started, I'd like to invite all of our listeners to join into the conversation. You could do so and call in and ask a question live on the air. You can call in at 952-946-6205, or you can email us a comment. You can email us at comment at am950radio.com. We also have a live stream going right now at facebook.com/am950radio, and you can leave a comment in there as well if you wish. You know, I'm looking at your bio. You mentioned that you have also guest hosts 100 of national talk radio shows. So now I know I can go on a vacation, because I'm assuming you're going to be just fine sitting in the host seat here and taking over while I'm, gallivanting around the world.
No worries.
Yeah, right. You're just like, sure, why not?
Sure.
Well, let's do it. You get to work. You get to work with Sasha. You've had the opportunity to talk with him earlier, and it's special. It's a fun time. So, where do we begin? There's so much to talk about. And, I guess my first question is, and I think I know the answer to this, we had Dave Schrader on back in October talking about the newest season of the Holzer Files. And, one thing that I notice in the show, which is excellent, by the way, I think it's really pretty much one of the top shows that showcases the paranormal, because the premise is so vast and so interesting, but you are hardly in it at all. And I'm just curious. I mean, why is that? I would have thought that I would have seen a lot more of you in it.
Yeah, I would love that too. And I think it's just the idea of having a modern team go in to reopen my father's case files, and the way that they had seen it to be revealed in that manner. I am really kind of busy with having the children and being an at-home mom, which is the first job that I have and will always have. I mean, they're getting older now. We do have a 4-year-old, and I think next year will be a lot easier. And season 2 picks back up in the late spring, I think hopefully by March. And we'll see, when we go from there. I really hope we get a season 3. And if that's the case, hopefully I'll be able to join the team on some locations. But it's a little bit difficult for me to be traveling around. It's weeks at a time. It's a huge commitment. And so I think it worked out the way that it worked out, for that reason. And to be a part of it is great. And I was able to interact with the showrunner and producer a lot of the times behind the scenes, answering questions. And of course, don't forget, when this all came about with the production company, we had to really dig deep into the files, as everything that I've inherited from my father, Dr. Hans Holzer, is a vast library spanning, 6 decades plus, and also categorized in so many different subject matter that nothing was really organized. So the heavy lifting, the work was done behind the scenes to get all the material together for the production company, and then they created that vessel for it to launch the show. And what makes it so unique and different is really my father and the basis of that. And, so I would love to join them on some locations, and then hopefully we get a season 3. Maybe they can make that happen.
I can't imagine you not getting a season 3, quite honestly. I mean, I've been watching season 2 and it's been outstanding, and what is it, what goes through your mind when you are watching these episodes? And one thing that I think that they do so well is that the production company is so they're so invested in your father's presence being in there throughout. I mean, he really weaves throughout the story quite well in each episode. How does that feel when you're watching that and you're just hearing his voice or seeing his work? I mean, that has to be amazing.
It's surreal, and it's a very isolating feeling, if that makes sense. When we had to do headquarters, for example, there was a lot of audio that they digitized that I had not heard before. And so I had to process that emotional side of it and still be a professional and not break down in tears and be like, oh my God, because listen, I've heard him before on tapes and things like that, and I've seen him on TV as a kid growing up. He'd always say, Alex, come in the living room, come watch me. He's Austrian, so
yes.
That's the way he spoke. And they'd be like, okay, Daddy, what is it now? But that comes with age, the appreciation and the awareness. But to do it in front of a bunch of people that are there working and watching you and filming, you really have to learn how to separate all that out, because you're really there to do your job and to get that out, and have people be educated on, the casework at hand and what's going to happen after that. So seeing it all come together is a very emotional roller coaster ride for me and the family. And I still process that, because the whole world, who's watching it, and in some other countries as well, I see that, we've been able to get around a bit now in Europe. And of course he's huge there, and so it's really a very isolating feeling, is the best way that I can explain it.
And I have to tell people that if you are, if you haven't watched the show and watch it, I mean, one of the things that really stand out for me when watching it is when he does the past life regressions, and you're hearing that recordings of his voice and the person that he's giving that's doing the regression, and it's haunting. It's haunting to hear these, them speak in a different tone, speak differently than they would normally speak, and speak about stuff that they would never know about. That alone to me is like one of the biggest parts of it. It's crazy.
That's transmediumship, and it's very dangerous to even practice that. But we're going back, as early as even the 40s and the 50s. It was a thing for him to try to meet with these people, both men and women, that would be able to run these experiments with him to see what would happen. He had studied his predecessors before him and mediumship. Now you have to understand, he was a parapsychologist, so you really don't talk about mediums. One thing has nothing to do with the other in the art of parapsychology.
I'm going to break in. I'm just going to break in right there. We're going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to continue this conversation and talk about what Alexandra's up to. We'll be right back.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable, but how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Aho, this is Robert Pilot. Wakun Jahade of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. And I want to tell you about 2 Native shows on AM 950. Please listen to Rock the Vote Native Style on Tuesdays, 2 to 3 p.m. On Sundays, we have the Sunday Native Symposium, 6 to 8 p.m., commercial free. Guests from all over Turtle Island and local politicians. That's Rock the Vote Native Style, Tuesdays, 2 to 3 p.m., and the Native Symposium, Sundays, 6 to 8 p.m.
Clean 2020 out of your carpets and home and bring in 2021 with the freshest cleaning deal of the year. Seriously, we've never seen a deal like this from our friends at Zero Res. Right now, in celebration of 2021, we're giving 21% off any cleaning service to our loyal AM 950 listeners. But the 21% off cleaning blitz is only good through January, so call today at 952-ZERO-RES or visit ZeroResMinnesota.com.
This is Gregory Rich from Habitation Furnishing and Design and Drink in the Style. You may not realize it, but a trained, skilled interior designer cannot just beautify your space. They can functionify it as well. I don't know if that's a word, but it is a thing. So why not check out HabitationDesign.com and see if it looks like we're right for you. If it does, give us a call and let's schedule an appointment, in person or virtually, to make your home exceptional. HabitationDesign.com.
Victor's 1959 Cafe in South Minneapolis is a locally owned and operated restaurant offering traditional Cuban food. At Victor's 1959 Cafe, you'll get an authentic taste of Cuban culture right here in South Minneapolis. Try some delicious authentic Cuban cuisine like ropa vieja and seafood paella. Plus, you can still do online ordering and takeout along with gift cards. Learn more at victors1959cafe.com. Victor's 1959 Cafe, revolutionary Cuban cooking.
Hi, everyone. Matt McNeil inviting you to join me every weekday from 4 to 6 for The Matt McNeil Show. It's 2 hours of progressive political talk focused on Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Minnesota. Okay, fine. We'll let Wisconsin in occasionally. We'll talk with politicians, political leaders, journalists, pundits, and newsmakers. We'll also get regular visits from Brett Johnson, Jeff Stein, Cliff Schechter, and most important, we'll talk with you. It's the only drive-time, Democratic-based political talk show in the Twin Cities. The Matt McNeil Show, weekdays from 4 to 6, right here on AM 950.
And welcome back to Ghostbox Radio on the Progressive Voice of Minnesota, AM 950. My name is Greg Bakken. Thank you for joining us, and Happy New Year. Our guest today is paranormal investigator, researcher, and author Alexandra Holzer. Once again, if you want to call in and ask a question, you can do so. You can do so calling in at 952-946-6205 or email us a question or comment. Our email address is comment@am950radio.com, and we're currently streaming live on facebook.com/AM950radio. You know, Alexandra, once again, thank you for being on here with us. And, you know, we kind of left off with the dangers of some of the stuff that your father had done. But if we can go back to that, but I do want to kind of touch on a couple things, and mainly that is, you know, first of all, I went to your website, which is alexandraholzer.com, and we're going to bring that up again. And one of the things I did not know about you is that you're a medium yourself.
I call myself an intuitive. I hate labeling, so I said, what is it that I can communicate to the people to come up with something that makes sense for us all, that we all have the ability. And so I call myself an intuitive. Essentially, it's mediumship, and it's the ability to have a sense of what's going on, whether it's a person or a place or thing. And I have visual impressions, and that's how I work in that area.
Okay, and you know, the thing about it is, I mean, you really appear to really grasp the whole true meaning, what I consider, of all of paranormal, because in there, you know, you're talking about, like, you've written stuff about ufology, and that you're working in the realm of metaphysical. You have this legacy that you are now a part of, which I'm trying to be very careful not to have that overshadow the huge amount of work that you have done in the field. You know, and with that, you know, you have Hunt with Holzer, and what is that?
Thank you, Greg. Well, Hunt with Holzer, my husband and I created that. It's not a real organization. It's not incorporated or anything fancy schmancy like that. It's essentially put out there to continue the name for my father and to continue the Holzer method. And what we were doing pre-COVID was we would have Hunt with Holzer events locally in our area in the Hudson Valley, New York, to have, you know, a small group of people where I could speak to, and then we would investigate the location and educate them as we're going about the investigation, what we're doing, why we're doing it, what to listen for, when to be quiet, and then go from there. So when you're in the moment is when you learn the best. So you can read, you can study, you can take notes, and you can have your equipment, but when you're in the moment of a purported haunted location and people are having happenings and sightings and there's a history written about it, there's a lot going on there. And so, you know, somebody coming into that is not aware of everything. And so my job is to basically bring that to the forefront and explain to people as we're doing it. So if somebody has an experience, we talk about that after, and sometimes in the moment, you know, because you just, to go in and do something, if you're not fully aware, you're leaving with an experience of not fully comprehending. And that to me is sad. And so we created Hunt with Holzer to really connect with people, individuals, you know, whether they're like-minded or not, whether they're curious, skeptical, it really doesn't matter. We're all human. We're all the same. We're cut from the same cloth. And that's what I wanted Hunt with Holzer to represent.
And it's very, very important. And, you know, as you said, it's not incorporated or whatever, but as we have discussed prior to the show, Sasha isn't even real. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter,
right,
does
exactly.
it? I mean,
He doesn't even exist. So I don't even know why we're bringing him up.
Right. Well,
you have proof?
I don't see anyone else running the show, quite honestly. So
I don't exist. Yeah, I don't exist.
Does that, what we just heard, Alexandra, is that an EVP, what we just heard? Because I heard a voice, and I don't know where it came from.
It might have been the ghost of what we call Sasha, but without further review, Greg, I cannot comment.
So, I have to say, what I really love about what we're talking about here is that whole educating people, and we try to do the same with my group up here, and that's, to me, kind of almost, for me personally, almost a more overriding aspect of the paranormal side of my investigation is trying to get people, especially in lieu of certain television shows, I'm not saying all of them, but certain ones where you kind of have to set people straight a little bit on not only expectations, but on what respect is when you're doing these.
Exactly. And, look, it is what it is. You are given an opportunity to view many things in the entertainment realm. And it's been like that for over a decade now, as far as ghost hunting goes. And then we've had films, we've had horror films. And years and years ago, the genre of horror started to blend in with the genre of paranormal. And so that kind of eased into an acceptance, if you will, of happenings of many people that have reported on having personal experiences or have known of people that have had personal experiences. And it kind of blends into that market, so it opens up to that. But, there's many different types of cases. And the more educated you are on what is a reality of what can happen, from very nasty, evil happenings to spirited ones, like being visited by a late aunt, and messages and things like that, there's a lot there, and there's a lot of layers there, and there's so much to learn about and understand, and why we exist and how small we really are. And to me, that's where my education comes in to other people, saying, look at this. We can't always prove everything in the sense of physical. We experience it in the spiritual, and our own personal experiences should not be judged. And my father, when he went into cases, he had to act almost like a psychologist, because a lot of people were full of,
Yep.
bleep, bleep.
Yep.
And so he had to break it down and learn about the personalities of the people he was dealing with. It wasn't just, what do you got for me?
Yep.
So I carry that same presence, if you will, towards any happenings, and when I hear from people, or I see their evidence and so forth, or when I'm in a moment myself.
Now, we have just about a minute before we go into break, but are you taking on with you and your husband and the organization? Are you taking on cases? Are you taking on mainly like bigger cases? Are you taking on home cases, or what are you currently doing?
I usually deal with residential.
Yeah.
And I usually deal with people who have questions about personal things that have happened to them anywhere in the world. I've got people writing to me from the UK and France to, United States of America. It really, it's everywhere. And I do my best to answer them and give them some advice and try to teach them. And what they do with it, I cannot control, but that's what I do. Physically now it's hard, to move around, but we'll be back at it. And do the best that we can. Absolutely.
Nope. That's what I'm thinking too. With the stuff that we do, it's like it's a matter of time, and we have these ways of talking, radio, podcast, whatever, to still be able to help wherever. What we're going to do is we're going to take our second break here, and when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Alexandra Holzer. We're going to talk to her about the books that she's written. We're going to talk about more of the paranormal. I mean, there's so much to cover here that, we don't have enough time for everything. So we're going to do that when we come back. You are listening to the Progressive Voice of Minnesota, AM 950, Ghost Box Radio. We'll be right back.
It's time to experience the amazing flavors of EatLocalMinnesota.com. It's your key to unlocking the best local and independently owned restaurants in the Twin Cities. See how EatLocalMinnesota.com can point you to that perfect one-of-a-kind spot. Specializing in Szechuan and Peking cuisine, the Great Wall Chinese restaurant has been a local favorite since 1981. They offer one of the most extensive menus in the Twin Cities. Favorites include the sesame chicken, imperial beef, and Peking duck. The Great Wall restaurant is located off 45th and France, with takeout available too. More at greatwallrestaurant.us. Victor's 1959 Cafe in South Minneapolis is a locally owned and operated restaurant offering traditional Cuban food. Try some delicious, authentic Cuban cuisine like ropa vieja and seafood paella.
Plus, you can still do online ordering and takeout along with gift cards.
Learn more at victors1959cafe.com. Victor's 1959 Cafe, revolutionary Cuban cooking.
Hello, this is Ellie Krug with Ellie 2.0 Radio. Now my show will be on Saturdays from 10 to 11 and replayed on Sundays from 1 to 2. You will get to the best of Ellie 2.0 with talking about idealism, with guests who come in and who are idealistic, who are trying to change the world, and you will get me, Super Idealist. Tune in. We can't wait to hear from you, and you'll hear from me. Saturdays from 10 to 11.
Find a wide selection of outdoor hearth products at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. Whether you prefer wood or gas, Woodland Stoves has the fire to fit your home. Pizza aficionados know nothing matches masonry oven baking for capturing flavor and nutrition. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces can easily install one in your home or business. Enthusiasts use these ovens year-round for bread making, wood roasting, even grilling.
The mission and passion of Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces is to make the fire work for you. The way humans relate to fire is primordial. We have used fire to warm our bodies, cook our meals, and kindle our spirits. Our team has the know-how to do this in a clean-burning and environmentally smart way. Visit our store and experience the diversity. We have over 35 working units on display at the corner of Riverside and East Franklin. See us online at woodlandstoves.com. Find the fire that fits and works for you.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
This is New Beginnings, hosted by award-winning broadcaster and speaker Freddie Bell.
Freddie, this generation of the baby boomers, people are living longer, so the baby boomers are taking care of elderly parents.
Let's talk about your health, and specifically, let's talk about Medicare. Our show features the concerns of America's 78 million baby boomers in employment, finance, health and nutrition, and even entertainment.
Join us for New Beginnings, Saturday mornings at 11, brought to you in part by Vision Loss Resources.
Hi, this is Laura. Listen to Food Freedom Radio every Saturday at 8 a.m. or anytime via podcast. Our individual health is connected to the health of each other and connected to the health of the earth. We know the problems with the dominant food system: climate change, deadening soils, nitrates in the water, factory farming, injustice, concentration of wealth. How do we both as individuals and as a community step up and support a living food system which honors the earth? Tune to Food Freedom Radio every Saturday at 8 a.m. and remember to support your independent farmers.
And don't forget, every Sunday night at 10 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is tonight, on both my Facebook profile page and my Ghostbox Radio Facebook page, which is facebook.com/MNGhostbox, you can see me do a live Spirit Box session as I try to reach out to your loved ones. I don't always guarantee responses, but I do guarantee a respectful communication with spirits. It's very interactive. Why don't you join me tonight at 10 p.m. Central Standard Time for my live Spirit Box session and see what it's like. Last week we had a number of relatives come through. It was they're always enlightening, and it's like I said, very interactive. Please give it a shot. Now, if you want to send me a note, ask me a question, or need my help for a paranormal investigation of your business or home, please send me an email. You can email me at greg@ghostboxradio.com. You can reach out to me on Facebook or follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @GregBert007, very original. And also, if you miss Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken Live, AM 950 replays these episodes Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, or you can listen anytime by going to Spotify or iTunes. After listening, please leave a positive review for my show. I'd really appreciate it. Now we return to our conversation with our guest, paranormal investigator, researcher, and author, Alexandra Holzer. And, Alexandra, as far as an investigation goes, what does that look like for you in terms of when you go out and do an investigation? Do you use any gadgets, or what sort of methodology are you using?
Basically, I am the tool. Yak, yak, yak.
Yeah, right. You
But-
can stand by. Yep.
Yeah, well, Sasha might agree to that, depending if he appears or not. But, here's the deal. It's quite simple. I am old school. I am not your modern investigator. I am very unorthodox, just like Father before me. And I'm not doing that or have been doing that because I want to emulate my father. I truly love what he did with what he had, and he still obtained amazing data and results. And I really didn't need further convincing. Now, does it mean that I wouldn't add some new gadgets to my toolbox? No, not necessarily, but there are a few things that I would like to try. I've never used infrared, for instance. I would like to use that because why not? It's
Right.
military technology, and you really could use it for many different things. But I use myself as the general tool, and I have to wear different hats depending on the location, the environment, why I'm there, what's the purpose, who needs what. If I am in the moment of being an intuitive, I have to take notes of that as to what I'm picking up in that moment, because we forget. It's like if we have a precog dream or something that's so real to us, which is technically in that moment, in that realm of when we're sleeping, things are really happening. We have really left our body, folks. It is real.
Mhm.
And so it depends, and then there's the academic part of me, the scientific part of me, which goes into the proof mode. I love a good Polaroid, and there's many different kinds. Thank God the company brought back the Polaroid. I love them. It's real-time photography. You can't manipulate it. It is what it is. So I like a good old-fashioned Polaroid. I don't mind the digital recorders. They're great. I do have some of my father's tape recorders, which are really heavy, and they take like 1 million batteries,
Yep.
and they have a cute mic. And I think that's fun too, It's really not that much. It's enough to have recording, audio, and visual, and yourself. And that's it.
Right.
And a good bunch of people around you that get what their roles are.
And that's just it too. It is a group that's in sync, isn't it? That you have to be able to. Everyone has a role. Everybody has a place in this investigation, and you got to rely on everyone to kind of do their thing, because you could easily disrupt the evidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can contaminate everything, and it's a lot. It depends on the energy. So if you're going out with a group of people that are experiencing it for the first time, or have had some experiences, or are really well into it, it doesn't matter, because you cannot predict the outcome. You are only projecting what it could be. And so you have to always clear the slate, and you have to go in with a good intention. And what does that look like? And what was your day like? And I go further back. So how we start our day, if you're going out, 9 o'clock at night, well, what was your morning like? If you've got a lot of frustrations, if you got something in the mail and it's a horrible letter, or if you're dealing with finances and the bill is due and you can't pay it, these things offset our energies, and we're not aware of it, but we carry that throughout the rest of our day, and our tone and how we behave. And so that is crucial to when you're walking into that next environment where you're there to do the work and you're supposed to connect to spirit. You got to leave all that outside the door. Even if you're in the woods, leave it in the car that you drove to get to the woods. Do you know what I mean? You got to learn. It's discipline, and you have to learn to use ESP. You have to do mental training, and it's a lot of work. It really is.
And so are you using then like your metaphysical intuitive side alongside, because you mentioned that you're wearing a lot of hats depending on where you're going. Are you using them all together? Because the question I have is that you have these investigators, and I don't mean to say that as a derogatory, like these investigators, but you have some investigators that they're only going to be relying on scientific results, whereas some are going to go in bringing in their intuitive side, as well as using some of the equipment and using themselves and formulating some hypothesis from there. And I'm just curious where you kind of fall within that.
Yeah. Well, it's hard, if you're a feeling being and you have some sensitivities to you and a wherewithal, it's hard to disconnect that. So part of me already picks up on something, and I have to determine whether or not I need to share it in the moment, or do I take notes and then share it later to see how the rest of the time unravels, and then bring it forefront and say, well, here's what I picked up on. It's time-stamped. I've written it. And I go back to handwriting, because if you're recording yourself, you can. My father did it all the time. He spoke into the recorder and recorded many sessions that he did. And so, but when you're with a group of people, it's not very private, but you certainly can do that as well. But I like the good old fashioned, jot down the notes and put it away and then go through that next wave of what's going to happen. So it really just depends on the environment, but it's hard to turn it off, because when you feel, you feel.
Yep.
And it's part of being a human being. And if you don't feel, then you're not human, and you could still be human. Do you know what I mean? You're just
Exactly.
not an empathetic soul. You have no conscience.
No.
Get out of my circle.
Exactly. Exactly. I do have a portable reel-to-reel recorder that I have brought to certain investigations. You always the idea of what works better than others, and always I agree with you. I like to have that analog recording, and I have the small ones too, like just the cassette. But it's nice to have. So what do you think the future of paranormal research looks like?
Well, I don't even know if it's so much the future or we're already there now.
Mhm.
I believe that we are existing in a different plane of existence at the same time that we're physically here, all of us. I really believe that. I think we're running parallel to another part of ourselves. And, if you look at theories on like doppelgangers and things like that, and deja vu and reincarnation, all of it does connect. You have to connect the dots. And so I think that it's not so much about where we're going to be in the future. We can definitely create, advanced technology where we can entrap the spirit and see what it really looks like in its true form, the energy. How big is that energy? Well, we don't really know, do we? And I think that's where I'd like to see the science go. And I refer back to the film, The Entity, was based on a story in California. And when I had watched the film with Barbara Hershey, I was so taken aback, because I was like, whoa, they froze that thing that was terrorizing them, her ex-boyfriend. And that, and I was young when this came out, and I watched that, and I knew that, and I'm like, this is really where it's at, because you're solidifying something that is only in reference to photography and film, where it's moving around and then it's gone, almost like a UFO. They blip out, So that's where I'd love to see it more of a concrete way to solidify it, perhaps do huge battery tests to create the energies to let them show themselves in a better form, because it takes a lot for them to come through our atmosphere. We are really far apart, but we're still running parallel.
Absolutely. I always think of it like layers in Photoshop, and I always say this to people. And if people use Photoshop, they get it. If they don't, they don't. But it's like you turn on and off the layers on the same piece that you can either see it or can't see it, and that's the way I've always looked at it. We have about 3.5 minutes before we go to break, but and we can finish this answer after break. But we have a question from the audience. Lorene asks you, do you get any input or ideas as an intuitive from your father?
I do, and I love that question. And I've been asked that for a very long time. It'll be 11 years since Father's passed, actually almost 12 years, coming up in the spring. Maybe 11. I have to go look, but my math is terrible. Yeah, he probably, I think it was about several days after he had passed, I had a dream about him. And that was it. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. And, I was struggling with the passing and coming to grips with what he stood for in life as the years went on. And then everything started opening up more for me, and having to accept what I had as a child happening to me. He comes to us in this house. Our house is not haunted. He pushes the books off the shelf. If we're having conversations, off goes a book, and it's right in that moment, and you can connect those dots and know precisely what he was trying to say. And then I have dreams where he sits me down in our living room in Manhattan, and everything around me is blackened out, and it's very cold and dark feeling, and he sits across from me, and we through mental thought, we have a conversation, and over the years it's progressed. So when he had first passed, he apologized to me, and he had said that, I'm sorry that I wasn't there for you the way you needed me. And I yelled at him in the dream. I was yelling at him, like, what were you thinking? I needed your help, And it's progressed since now. We're at a point where he keeps telling me to practice the ESP, have faith, go the course, and he'll give me signs, and we'll have dreams, and we'll have conversations, and I keep note of all of that. And as things have been unrolling, it's happening, and it takes time. And don't forget, time doesn't exist where he is. It's something that I can't even fathom. I can't even put into a sentence to correlate, because I'm not there physically and mentally, emotionally. But yeah, he's constantly at it, and he'll make his presence known in the house. And it's really quite eerie, to be honest with you. I didn't ask for that, but it's there.
It's funny because I have a lot of people ask me, as an intuitive myself, is my relative who've passed, are they around? Are they watching me? Are they able to see me? But in your case, you don't have to worry about, there's no question. He's throwing stuff off the walls. I mean, that's...
Yeah. And he did that in the apartment. So he had died in our apartment where I grew up in Manhattan, and he had passed, and my sister and her husband and their daughter at the time, which was much younger, had moved in to try to help take care of him for a bit. And then shortly after, he had passed away. And within that week, things started happening. They had brought their cat there, and the cat was freaking out. So I actually ran an investigation. And if you go on my Twitter feed, the pinned video is a little clip of that, where we brought in a medium that my father worked with to try to find out what we can find out. And there's more to it that I haven't posted. It was actually a reel to try to get a show of me basically doing that, going and retracing his footsteps. But the point was, we were back in the apartment after he had passed, and my brother-in-law was freaked out because things kept moving around. The cat wouldn't go into the one room where he passed. And so he did a walkthrough with me, and the look on his face, he was genuinely afraid. Their bed was shooken in the middle of the night.
Goodness.
My mother, which was the ex-wife, had an experience there where she was pushed, not horribly, but pushed, and felt that was my father behind her. So there was a lot of things. He was really ready to come back and say hello.
I'm going to break in. We're going to take our last break. And when we come back, we're going to pick up this conversation, and we'll be right back with Ghostbox Radio.
Hi, I'm Alicia Luther Tom, certified financial planner with an all-women team at RBC Wealth Management. Making sure you and your loved ones can live comfortably in the future starts with the choices you make today. During times like these, having a trusted investment team is more important than ever. We practice social distancing and can work with clients remotely. This is Alicia Luther Toms at 612-770-4460 or alicia.luther.toms@rbc.com.
RBC Wealth Management, a division of RBC Capital Markets, LLC, member NYSE, FINRA, SIPC.
Hi, this is Ken Hageland, host of Living Healthy and Aging Well, inviting you to listen to our new show airing on Saturdays from noon to 1, where we talk about your health and your life and provide insights to living and aging well. Each week, we provide answers to important questions regarding health care, elder care, end-of-life care, and caregiver support to help you and your loved ones plan for the future and enjoy your highest quality of life today. Please join us every Saturday from noon to 1 for Living Healthy and Aging Well.
Take advantage of this Thanksgiving special and save $1,000 or more on a new high-efficiency furnace from Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. Ask about payment options or 0% financing. Learn how you can save on your new furnace at standardheating.com/special offers.
Help Victor's 1959 Cafe, your favorite Cuban restaurant, stay open. Victor's is closed temporarily, but they are accepting gift card purchases at victors1959cafe.com. So head on over to purchase a gift card, and once we're through this, enjoy some delicious Cuban cuisine.
Connections Radio Show is all about tapping into our hardwired hunger to connect. We examine meaningful connections to ourselves, our community, and the world around us. By opening the door to innovative insights by a wide variety of interesting guests, we'll make the connections to something bigger than ourselves. Join me, Lori Fitz, your host of Connections Radio Show, and together we'll make the connections. Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Hi, everyone. Matt McNeil here, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much to all the AM 950 listeners who've become members of the radio station. The pandemic has hit our economy hard, and your generous support has helped ensure Progressive Radio stays on the air in Minneapolis, St. Paul. One thing 2020 has taught us is small independent media is such an important element of our community. And as some independent media outlets have shuttered, you members have helped ensure AM 950 will stay on the air into 2021. It's really simple to become a member of AM 950. AM950, go to our webpage, am950radio.com, click on the membership button and sign up. You can make a one-time donation or a recurring donation. And we have a great offer for new members. If you make a $50 one-time donation or a $25 recurring donation, you'll get a copy of the first ever AM950 calendar featuring photos I took on my hikes from this last year. Head over to am950radio.com and sign up to become a new member today. And once again, thank you so very much for your support from everyone here at the Progressive Voice of Minnesota, AM950.
And join us next week on Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken as we bring back psychic medium tarot card reader Ane. She's going to be back to do one-question readings live on the air. So if you have a question about your job, money, or love, or anything, we try to keep it light for these sessions. If you want something more, you can book a session with her. But something like this, call in and ask a question to Ane. And there's so many people who talk about how accurate she is, and she's always been accurate with me. So please, next week, check it out. Also, we are taking orders now for our new T-shirt that we are making. It just says "Sasha is real" on it. It says it's going to be really. I think it's going to be a big seller. Sasha, what do you think?
I can't comment. I'm not real.
I don't know where you're getting this from. Who would tell you you're not real? It's horrible. It's horrible.
It's a little bit gaslighty, yeah.
Wow.
Sure.
Wow, going after the guest. I don't know about that. So for our final segment, we're going to return to our conversation with our guest that Sasha was just so rude about, paranormal investigator, researcher, and author Alexandra Holzer. Welcome back, and I apologize for my producer. I can't control him.
That's if he is a producer. I
Wow.
don't even know if that's even a fact. So
Wow, boy, I don't know.
I am from New York, so God help you.
You're just saying it as you see it is what that's all
Or
about.
if I don't see it,
Well,
even.
that's true too. There we go. There we go. So look, I want to finish this program up, and I want to talk a little bit about the books that you have authored. And first of all, these books are available on www.alexandraholzer.com. That's AlexandraHolzer.com. No T in the last name. I'm going to make that very, very obvious. Can you get these only through the site, or can you get them through Amazon also?
Yeah, just people go on Amazon. Everything is on Amazon. So Lady Ambrosia was the first book in 2006, I believe, or 2007 that I had published. I was actually pregnant with my first child. So I had my child, and then I had written it and then published it after the fact because she was a girl and I wanted to inspire her. So I made a female lead character. It's like a sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
And then Growing Up Haunted, again on Amazon. And I have a new book coming out called The End is Near this spring with Crossroads Press. And that's also a fictional kind of sci-fi / supernatural trilogy, potentially. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But it's taken me a while to get them out. I've been busy having kids, and it's exhausting. So so I do have another one that's coming out this spring.
That's great. And these I haven't read them, but I'm gonna check out a couple of them. Well, there's two of them. I'm gonna check them out. And what is your kind of your creative sort of inspiration when you're doing the fiction books?
I see it. I see the scenes play out. I see the characters, and I act them out. When I was growing up, I wanted to be an actress, so I think put all that energy into playing them out, and then I just start writing out the characters. My process is I create the title first.
Mm-hmm.
I have a selection of different titles, and then I start to create the characters, and then the dialogue, and then the environment that they're being placed in, and what is the meaning, what's the message, what are they going to end up doing, and I've written screenplays as well. I actually have a business partner who has one of my screenplays, like my father, I really have kind of gotten into that realm of spreading it out because I have visions and I see them, and then it goes down and I start writing it.
And I'm assuming that this has been, as you said, you wanted to grow up being an actress. This has been with you your whole life, where you're, writing down stuff and creating these stories, right?
Correct. Yeah, I've always been that way. I have a flair for the drama, and I don't care, and I shoot from the hip. I don't get, I don't get embarrassed. If I do, I deal with it internally, and I do it privately, but I handle it quite well socially. It's life. I want to grab life at its balls, so to speak, and go for it.
Well, and that's a really good point I think that's a big part of putting anything out there, right? Is the idea that now it's going to be open to people having their own opinions on it, good or bad, and that you have to deal with it. What is your advice to people who are thinking about writing books, but they need that little push? Do you have any advice for them?
I do, and it's a great question. I actually am helping a friend of mine who's also an investigator. She's out in Long Island, and I've inspired her to put together her beautiful photography and haunted locations and history. And I said, put it in a book form, the old table books. We need to bring back the table books.
Absolutely.
And do the photography and write the history under the photos. And I think that'd be a really great thing to do. And so she's actually doing that. Don't be afraid. The thing that I've noticed when people start writing is they second guess the work. They either don't go back to it, they edit everything, and then they start writing again. Just write. Get it down, and then let it sit for a bit, let it marinate, and then go back to it and then reread it again. And when you do that, you'll start to pull out things that maybe don't sound that great, or you want to add to it, so forth. It's like when you're cooking. You can't take out the spices. You can only add them in. So when you're slowly cooking a pot of chicken soup, add the spices in and test it. And if it needs more, you'll know at that point. But if you put too much in, it's done. So that's my advice.
And you have to do it also, right? That because it's kind of like you're saying, you're writing for yourself. I mean, you're not trying to think of what other people are going to think of it to a certain extent, right? Because otherwise you're going to always second guess what you're writing.
You can't. And this is a rule of thumb in life. There are going to be people that are still going to say what they're going to say about you, especially when you're putting yourself out there in the public's eye. Regardless, that's the way of the world, and it's a shame. But people cast judgment. They don't know you, or, they want to be nasty. And that's a deterrent for a lot of people. They don't want to deal with it, so they shy away from it. But you know what? You do it because if you have the ability and you have a process and you really feel in your gut, this makes sense for you, just do it. And don't worry about the rest. And if you have the support, the bottom line is you need a support of people, a good publisher, somebody, a business partner, somebody that really believes in you, invests in you, because that's what's lacking. People do not invest in other people these days. They go for the top person. They think it's got the most followers or whatever have you, and it stinks. And I think a lot of great talent is wasted because they don't get up there. They don't get the investment from the right people, and they lose a lot. And you have to really watch who you choose to have in your inner circle, which affects the creative process as well.
Alexandra Holzer is a paranormal investigator, researcher, and author, and so much more. You can go to her page at www.alexandraholzer.com to learn more about Hunt with Holzer or the Holzer Method, or pick up one of her books. You can also pick them up at Amazon also. Alexandra, thank you so very much for joining us today. I hope you're going to come back sometime, and maybe we could talk about your new book this spring.
That would be awesome. Thank you, Greg. And please tell the ghost of Sasha, wherever he may roam, that I say Guten Tag.
I will certainly do so if I ever see him again, or if he doesn't punch me when I leave the studio. This has been Ghost Box Radio with Greg Bakken on the progressive voice of Minnesota AM 950. I'm going to be back next week with psychic medium, tarot card reader Ane for One Question Tarot Card Readings. Thank you all very much for joining me, and I will see you next week. Thank you very much, everyone. Take care.